Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of One Fall Friday. We got a lot to talk about this week. We're going over Raw, SmackDown, 205 Live, NXT, and my predictions for this Sunday's Money in the Bank. So let's get right into it. Starting off with Monday Night Raw. The show started off with Samoa Joe and Brock Lesnar in a brawl. They had to pull them apart. This was really good to see. We've seen it before, I think, with Brock Lesnar and John Cena. You know, the fight, and they won't stop. People try to pull them apart. They still want to get at each other's throat. I'm not saying that it wasn't needed, but we have seen it before. And if you weren't already excited for the match, then you probably are now. Me personally, I've been wanting this match to happen for a long time, so I didn't need any extra boost to get me going for this match. I mean, just Samoa Joe versus Brock Lesnar, I'm sold. That's all I needed. Alright, so what's going on between Goldust and R-Truth? Did I miss something? Did they have a falling out on TV and I just missed it? Because what happens is I watch Raw replays on Hulu the next day, and they don't show you everything that happened on TV. They take a 3-hour show, you know, give or take the commercials, and then they cut it down to about an hour and a half. So you're not getting all of the show, and what I don't see, I have to go to YouTube and try to catch there, and then they don't always upload everything from the show there either. All of a sudden I start seeing Goldust. He's doing his old gimmick, which is good. I like classic Goldust. It's very, very good. And for some reason, him and R-Truth have just had a falling out. They're not a tag team anymore. And it looks like they're probably going to have a match at Raw's next pay-per-view, which is Great Balls of Fire. Elias Samson versus Dean Ambrose. We get that for a second time. Miz runs interference. Samson picks up the win. Not much else to be said about that. Bray Wyatt comes out and has a really good promo. I mean, some people say that he's not really believable, that he sounds scripted. And I really don't think that's his fault. He has all the potential in the world to be a great superstar. He has to go out there and say what people tell him to say. And yeah, it's probably a little bit, you know, it's more scripted than anybody would have liked. And he may not always sound believable, like nobody would just go out there and say the things that he says. But he's still doing a good job. I mean, I love Bray Wyatt. I've been a big fan of Bray Wyatt for a very long time. He has all the potential in the world. He's a former champion now. He just give him a little more time and he's going to be something really special. But in the middle of his promo, here comes Seth Rollins. That looks like they're setting up a match between the two of them, which partially answers the question that I had after last week, which was, now that Samoa Joe is the #1 contender, what are they doing with the other 4 men? What's going to happen with Rollins, Wyatt, Reigns, and Balor? Well, at least we have an answer, part of an answer to that question with Rollins and Wyatt. Looks like they're going to be having a feud, which that'll be pretty cool to see. The only time we've ever really seen them go up against each other was at the last pay-per-view, and way back when it was The Shield and the Wyatt family. They had a great 6-man tag. I can't even remember, maybe it was 2014, 2015. Anyway, really good match. So Alexa Bliss comes out. She's talking about how she was forced to defend her title against Nia Jax. Here comes Nia Jax saying, well, you owed me a favor. What are they doing with Nia Jax, by the way? I mean, I can't... I feel so bad because they're building her up to be a very, very dominant person. But at the same time, now they're mixing her in with another heel. So it's like, well, do you want her to be a face instead? Or, you know, people just not buying the heel aspect of this character? What's going on? I'm kind of confused. And I know Nia's probably getting confused, you know, wondering if and when she's going to get her chance. Does she deserve it? Probably sometime in the future. I wouldn't say just yet. She's still got to rough out the edges, you know. Her promos are getting better. She still needs to work a little bit on her in-ring. Personally, I think she might have been pulled up to the roster a little too early. So then, out of nowhere, here comes Emma. She's back. I missed Emma. I don't know where she's been. I don't know if she got hurt or if she was just taking some time off. Emma's been away so much, sometimes I forget that she's gone whenever she is gone, which is kind of sad because she is an incredible talent. She's got great charisma. She needs a break. She needs her chance. Then here comes Sasha Banks. She's putting in her 2 cents. And then bing bada boom, what do you know? We got a 6-woman tag team match, which Sasha comes out on top, getting the submission, and it looks like maybe she's going to be #1 contender for Alexa Bliss. That should be a pretty good match. I've been waiting for them to have a good opponent for Alexa ever since she took the title. Not that I don't think that Bayley would have been a good opponent, but just the way that it was booked. I mean, yeah, she took the title from Bayley, but that Singapore Kane on a pole match, who cares? Enzo and Cass versus Gallows and Anderson. We were supposed to see it last week. We kind of saw it this week. There's still some random interference happening. We don't know if it's the Revival. We don't know if it's Cass himself playing it off. We don't know if it's Big Show. I don't know why they're pulling Big Show into the middle of this, but they are. Maybe he is the one. He bounces back and forth between face and heel so much. And he works both ways. He's a really good face, he's a really good heel, so he's one of those go-to guys that you can ask him to do anything and he will, and he'll do it incredibly well. I'm actually kind of surprised that Big Show hasn't retired yet, but that's another story for another day. Rhino and Heath Slater versus The Miz and a bear. Not literally a bear, a man in a bear costume. At The Miz's victory party last week, we saw the bear and they decided to bring it back again. Miz can make anything work. He entertains the hell out of me. You give him a mop handle and he'll have a match with it. So there was some random guy in the bear costume again this week, but then Dean Ambrose pulled a switcheroony and had a similar bear costume on, and he goes in there and he wins the match for Rhino and Slater. I think what's going on is that Miz and Maurice is getting a wedge drived in between them by Ambrose, maybe to kind of level the playing field because he knows he can't beat just one, he's got to beat the both of them, and he's been doing a good job of that. The main event for the evening was a 2 out of 3 falls match between the Hardys and Cesaro and Sheamus for the tag team titles. They tied up at a fall apiece, and then they were both counted out. We're definitely not done with these 2 teams going at each other. I think there's going to be at least one more match that we're going to get out of this pair before it's all said and done. Maybe then we'll see the Broken Universe. Moving on to SmackDown, we started off the night with an 8-man tag team match, which saw Breezango and the New Day versus the Usos and the Colognes. Honestly, I think this match went on just a little bit too long. They've been doing that a lot recently. The first match on both shows, they just run too long. And I understand they're trying to let everybody have time to get their stuff in. But if you're taking 2 commercial breaks and we're still seeing the same match from a viewer standpoint, that's just too long. Now, if you're there live in the audience, that's got to be great. It's like, wow, this is such a good match. It's going on a long time. I'm really enjoying myself. But for everybody else in the world, just a little too long. That's all I'm going to say about that. A non-title match between Naomi and Tamina, building up steam for the pay-per-view match this Sunday. I'm sure these 2 have wanted to work with each other for a very long time, seeing how they're related now. We didn't really see anything that was super memorable in this match, but that's okay. I mean, maybe they'll have another go-around sometime in the future, and they'll have a much better match. Mojo Rawley was having an interview backstage, and then who shows up but Long Island's #1 broski, Zack Ryder. He's finally back from injury. He's talking about they got unfinished business in the tag team division. They did win a #1 contenders battle royal, and that's the match that Zack got injured in. So, but here's the thing. I kind of got the vibe, maybe I was wrong, it's just how I was feeling. I got a vibe that either Mojo or Zack was going to turn heel. They were going to have a tag team title match, it wasn't going to go in their favor, and one of them was going to betray the other. Maybe they're still planning on doing that because they've been pushing Mojo really, really good since Zach's injury. You know, he won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. So he had a match against Jinder Mahal, the WWE champion. So they're pitting him up against these top-notch players. They're not having him break through, but they are saying, okay, well, here's a guy that can run with these guys. So I would think if anybody's going to turn heel, it's probably going to be Zach. Charlotte Flair versus Natalya. Great match. Two good wrestlers. Can't say anything bad about it. Charlotte picks up the win. Again, building more momentum towards this Sunday's pay-per-view. Last match of the night was a 6-man tag that pitted all the members of the men's Money in the Bank ladder match against each other. Obviously, your 3 faces were together: Sami Zayn, Shinsuke Nakamura, and AJ Styles, versus the 3 heels: Dolph Ziggler, Baron Corbin, and Kevin Owens. Sami comes up with a win. I think he pinned Baron Corbin again for the 3rd time. Sami's been getting a lot of wins lately, but I'll talk about that more later. There's a little bit of a brawl after the match. Shinsuke ends up taking everybody out, climbs up the ladder, grabs the case, trying to make a statement. Does that mean he's going to win? No. Have they made it that apparent before? I mean, was it last year? Yeah, it was last year. Dean Ambrose said, you know, I'm just going to win the Money in the Bank ladder match and I'm going to cash in that night and take the title, which is exactly what he did. But I don't think they were going to do something like that 2 years in a row. Okay, 205 Live. Going to keep this one kind of short, not a whole lot going on. Cedric Alexander picked up a win over Arya Daivari. There was a little bit of interference, but it didn't affect the match with Noam Dar and Alicia Fox on FaceTime. I don't know what they're doing with that. It's kind of goofy. I'm not really buying that. So Austin Aries came out and addressed his situation after his match that he had at the last pay-per-view. He said he's having some leg issues, said he's having some neck issues, so he's going to be taking some time off. And Drew Gulak came out and was talking smack to him, and Jack Gallagher comes out and they attack him. Well, Jack attacks him. Austin didn't really do much, just kind of stood back. So maybe he is really hurt. Maybe he needs some time off, which is unfortunate because Austin has been getting hurt a lot lately, and he's one of 205 Live's best players. And that's probably why he didn't win against Neville, was because he's still having some sort of problems. Otherwise, I really think that he would have took the title from Neville this time around. And finally, we had TJP versus Akira Tozawa. I am a big fan of Tozawa. I had loved him since the very first time I saw him in the Cruiserweight Classic. However, I think they're really trying to force him onto the WWE Universe. His scream that he does, I hate it that they call that a battle cry. That's just something that he does. If you watch his very first match in the Cruiserweight Classic, you didn't even have to like try to get the crowd behind him. I think he was even supposed to be a heel in this instance, but he just started yelling at the crowd and they yelled back at him, and it was funny, it was entertaining, it was fun to watch. And then he told him to shh. It was just really, really good. Let that flow organically. Or maybe they should have 205 Live at the NXT Performance Center and have a good proper crowd, because these crowds, the normal WWE Universe crowds, they're not always into these matches. And TJP and Akira Tozawa, they put on a clinic. They had an incredible match, and it was just kind of depressing to watch because the crowd was just not into it as much as they should have been. I mean, they did some really good stuff. I don't know what else they wanted, you know. But anyway, that's my 2 cents. So now we move on to my personal favorite show, NXT. First match of the night was Drew McIntyre. He went up against a new NXT up-and-comer that I can't even remember his name off the top of my head, so no disrespect to that person that took the fall to Drew, but Drew did come out on top, looking good as always. I am so glad that Drew McIntyre is back. Hopefully this time around he's gonna get the push that he so well deserves. Next up, we had the Authors of Pain versus 2 more up-and-comers. It might as well have been a handicap match. I don't know why I say the Authors of Pain, because Aiken pretty much wiped up the floor with both of them in at least a minute, maybe just under a minute. It was a really, really short match. It was really cool to see, very dominating. They're still a force to be reckoned with. And then Paul Ellering comes in and he starts talking about Heavy Machinery, how they had called out the Authors of Pain previously. Here they come to kind of defend themselves. There's a standoff, no altercation. Maybe they're going to get a title match in the future. If they do, I really don't think they'll take the belts off of Others and Pate, because it's still a little early for them. I like them a lot. They have great in-ring ability. They make me smile. They're entertaining to watch. But I think it's just too soon. I mean, I'm surprised somebody like TM61 isn't around to step up to these guys. They've already lost, but with DIY disbanded or they're both injured, there's really no other good legitimate tag team for them to go after right now. We might have to wait for the next Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic to find out who it's really going to be. So we find out two pieces of information. One, Ember Moon has been cleared to compete, which is awesome. I miss Ember. She is one of the best females they have. She has probably the best finisher I've ever seen. And then also Cassius Ohno is going to be going up against Aleister Black. That should be a pretty good match. Although this is probably going to be an unpopular thing that I'm going to say. Cassius Ohno, I never got a chance to see Cassius his first time around in NXT. I didn't have the WWE Network. I didn't have Hulu. I didn't have a chance to watch NXT at all. Broke my heart, but anyway, I heard a lot about Cassius Ohno, and then he was gone, and now he's back, and I'm able to watch it again, and I'm like, well, what's really the appeal to this guy? I mean, mostly he just sells and sells and sells. He has a couple good, hard-hitting moves, but I don't really see what the hype is about him. I'm pretty sure he's going to take a dive to Aleister, because Aleister has been absolutely on fire since he came. I love Aleister Black, and I want to see more of him. I'd like to see him go up against Bobby Roode. Then at the end of the night, we saw a triple threat women's elimination match for the NXT women's title, which saw Asuka against Nikki Cross and Ruby Riott. Ruby Riott is the first to get eliminated, and then the match ends in a no contest, which is complete bullshit because it's a triple threat match. The ref shouldn't have called it. He should have just let him fight, because it's a triple threat match. There's no rules. There's no disqualification. There's no count out. They're fighting towards the back, and he's trying to get him back in the ring, and he can't, so he just decides he's going to run back to the ring, call for the bell, and say, this is a no contest. Well, they don't even care about that. They keep brawling in the back. They make their way back out. They both go through a table, and that's the end of the show. Pretty cool ending to, I guess, you know, to keep the title on Asuka, because I'm pretty sure Ember's going to be the one to finally take it off her. She was probably set to do it at NXT Chicago, but she got hurt, so she couldn't. This is the best way that they could have ended this match. Okay, in the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Charlotte picked up the win. Do I think she's going to? I really don't know. This one's kind of up in the air for me. It's hard for me to pick just one person, because SmackDown's been doing a lot lately. You know, they've been doing the opposite, the complete opposite of what you think is going to happen. Obviously, I think Charlotte would be a go-to person for the win. Maybe Tamina will come up with a win. I mean, she's the son of Superfly Jimmy Snuka. She's used to those high-risk type environments. You know, she can do a dive off the top. I really wouldn't be surprised if we saw a moonsault from Charlotte in this match. I'd like to see Natalya win just because she needs it. I'd really be surprised if Carmella won. She's had a bit of a momentum streak up to this point. She's been winning a lot of matches. Becky Lynch, I don't think she's going to win. I like Becky a lot, but I don't think she's going to take this one. So if I had to narrow it down, I would say probably either Carmella or Tamina. I can't really say one or the other, so those are my two picks for that. Tag team title match, Usos versus The New Day, with Zack Ryder being back, with Mojo Rawley and them being the legitimate #1 contenders. It would make sense for the Usos to go ahead and win this match. That way they don't owe a rematch to The New Day. You know, they can have another rematch another time. They could go ahead and get this match out of the way, and whatever they're going to do with Zack and Mojo, they can take care of that. So I'm going to say Usos on this one. Women's title match, Lana versus Naomi. again, I mean, it all depends on how the Money in the Bank match is going to win. And who knows, the winner of the women's Money in the Bank match, they could cash in during this match or right after this match and just snag the title. It would make, like, if Lana won that way, it would make sense for someone to just come and snag the title. That way, people won't be that upset that she comes and gets, you know, a title victory on her very first match. But that's not the first time that something like that's happened. I mean, look at Carlito. He came and won the United States Championship on his first night of Raw. So, I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and play it safe on this one and say that Naomi is going to retain her title. WWE title match, Jinder Mahal versus Randy Orton. If you've been paying attention to SmackDown lately, you've been seeing a lot of advertisements for Super Cena to come back. And it would make sense for him to want a title match as soon as he comes back, because that's what he always wants. That's what he always gets. He never has to become a #1 contender. He's just given title match after title match. So with Jinder Mahal still being the WWE champion, if that's what happens, it would make perfect sense for those two to go at each other. So I would say that Jinder Mahal is going to retain against Randy Orton by hook or by crook. And then the men's Money in the Bank match. Again, I don't know. I could see a lot of people winning this. I could see AJ winning this. I could see Shinsuke winning this. Although I think it's still a little too soon to be pushing Shinsuke. But you never know. You know, Baron Corbin, I really don't think he's going to win. I've never personally cared for Baron Corbin. He's okay in the ring. He'll hit you, and then he'll just kind of pace and look at you, and then he'll hit you again, and then he antagonizes the crowd, and his promos are just boring. They put me to sleep. I'm just tired of Baron Corbin. I don't know how or why he got up as fast as he did, but no. Sami Zayn has been getting a lot of victories lately, so I wouldn't be surprised if they give him the Money in the Bank. He definitely deserves it. Dolph Ziggler, he's been Money in the Bank before. It would certainly look good on him to win it again, but with the current aspects of things, I really don't think he's gonna. I don't think Kevin Owens is going to either, simply because they need to keep him busy with the United States title. We still need to know who's going to go up against him for the United States title. I don't know if they're giving AJ another shot at it. I really don't want to see more Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Not that they don't have good matches. They have great matches. It's just that they've gone to that well so many times. I'm tired of seeing them too. I want Kevin to have a new rival. Maybe even Shinsuke. He would be a good United States champion. It'd be a good stepping point for him to work his way up the ladder. They might not do it that way, but just my opinion. So if I was going to pick a winner for this match, I would say Sami Zayn is my best pick for this match. I would like to see him win, but he probably won't, but I'd like to see him win, and I'm going to stick with Sami Zayn. Alrighty, that's going to wrap up this week's One Fall Friday. Thank you guys for joining me on this episode. Going to be a very, very interesting Sunday. I'm going to be watching very closely. Money in the Bank has always been one of my favorite attractions. Back when it was just a match during WrestleMania, it was always one of my favorite matches to look forward to for WrestleMania. And then it just got so big that they decided to make it its own pay-per-view with its own matches, you know, in between the ladder matches. History's going to be made. We're going to have the first Miss Money in the Bank. I'm looking forward to this. But anyway, thank you guys very much for watching this episode. I'll be back later with another video. Hope to see you there. My name is Dave, and I am the one-man Rave. See ya!